Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and today, once again, I'm going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. I feel like this whole channel has been dedicated to Kingdom Hearts for the past 2 months, but too bad, it's going to keep going. So, the purpose of this video is that it's going to be more of a compact final thoughts review, because I've had about a month. Yeah, I think when I'm releasing this, it will be pretty much a month to the day that I started playing it. So I've had a month to go over this game in my head, and I just want to present this video in a compact format. A lot of this video is going to be constructive criticism towards the game. It's going to be my big problems with it. And if you want to see more positive things, you want to hear what I have to say about the game that's great in depth, there's other videos you can watch. There's the original spoiler-free one. There's the 2-hour discussion about it I had with Richard. I recently was on fellow YouTuber Epic Steve's podcast, where I talked about the game at length, probably a little bit too much on there. You can go find it there. I talk about the game, the positive stuff. But I feel like it's more important for me to talk about what the game gets wrong for the future, because really, how boring would that be for me to just say again and again, hey, the game looks great. Hey, the game is fun. Hey, the game has amazing music. Hey, I bawled my eyes out at parts. You've already heard it. So I wanted to instead focus on the constructive criticism that I've got for the game, because there's a lot of it. And once again, this video is going to be spoiler free, so I'm kind of still keeping myself on that leash regarding going fully off on the things that I hate about the story. So that will be done on a later date. I have no idea when the spoiler cast is going to come, so that will just be something that will be for the indefinite future. So with that being said, let's talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. Alright, so now that it's been a month removed from launch, the general consensus that the game has gotten among the community has been divisive, to say the very least. Among a lot of mainstream critics that most of them probably aren't as in-depth with the series as a lot of the fans are, say that the game is great, it's terrific. I watched that accolades trailer that Kingdom Hearts threw out, where they gave it like 9s and 10s, and it's the most spectacular thing. I loved it. I loved every second of it. There's a literal quote in there that said, I loved every second of it. And when you go on to any of the sites that are dedicated to Kingdom Hearts, things like, you know, Reddit or whatever, the other ones, Twitter, it's almost like a much more divisive reaction to the community. I think the general consensus kind of mirrors my own, where it's good, it's very good, but it has problems. It has big problems. And I think this is one of those cases where it's not exactly a love it or hate it, but it's a lot more diverse across the board with reactions to it from the core community. And personally speaking, I don't hate Kingdom Hearts 3, nor do I consider it this gigantic disappointment. I really do like it. I've gone through it twice now, and I can say with confidence that I really like this game. But I can't deny that it has some big problems, and the strange thing about this game is that a lot of the pros and cons kind of go hand in hand. And as I mentioned in the 53-minute video that I did, it almost feels like you can't compliment the game without adding a but on top of it. Again, these pros and cons just kind of interlink. So it's a little strange talking about this game. And before I said I had a very complicated, mixed opinion on it. Well, when I really break it down in my head, it's still, you know, it's not as simple as black and white. It does have some complex things to it, but maybe it's not as complex as I initially made it out to be. So let's get into the big cons with Kingdom Hearts 3. So one of the biggest issues with this game is its pacing. When you compare it to the past games, like Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, actually even Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance, I think the pacing is some of the weirdest and strangest it's ever been in the series in Kingdom Hearts 3. It feels very disjointed at points. And before, I was trying to be nice and say, you know, oh, the game's not a mess, it's just messy. No, it's a mess. Let's call it for what it is. It's a mess. It's a very enjoyable mess, but it's a mess nonetheless. And this time around, I feel like there's a lack of cohesion between what the original content is with Kingdom Hearts versus the Disney worlds. And the Disney worlds almost feel like filler this time around, where they don't actually serve a real purpose other than to just be the obligatory, you know, Disney worlds that you go to. And I feel like it's missing things in regards to story beats, and it doesn't expand on some of the things I think we need to see as an audience. Like, for example, they made this big deal about how Kairi and Axel are going to be training in this unknown disclosed location. And we only really ever get 2 scenes of it. And one of it is at the beginning of the training, and one of it's at the very end, where they literally say, oh, tomorrow's our final day of training. Oh, here we go. We're ready to be Keyblade wielders now. And that doesn't cut it, for me at least. I know this is Sora's adventure. I know that the focus of the game is on Sora. But for all these side characters, especially in a case like Kairi, a character that's kind of been on the bench for a long time, probably since the days of Kingdom Hearts 2, she doesn't really get a whole lot to do in this game. And I think they really missed a good opportunity to show off her training with Axel, where you get to play as Kairi and you get to see the training that Merlin puts them through. I think that would have been really great to show that. But they just don't, and it's just odd how it just time skips throughout their training. So that was really disappointing. And then you have all these Disney worlds this time around, but I feel like the narrative breadcrumbs just don't come as well as they should, and they're not as plentiful or as meaningful. Where you do get narrative breadcrumbs in this, but they're paced few and far between all the Disney World stuff. Whereas I feel like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, there was enough mystery to where the narrative breadcrumbs were enough to sustain you. And they doled them out a lot quicker and a lot meatier in those games than in this one, where you get those aside scenes that kind of push the plot along and tease the things that are to come. And in this game, they kind of do that, but you're left waiting a good amount of the time for these Disney worlds to end just so you can see the shit that you came here to see. And the stuff like that doesn't come until the final 6 hours of the game. And then when you've spread this shit out across all these Disney worlds, and then the last 6 hours, they kind of just rush through all the stuff that you came here to see. And while that stuff you came here to see is mostly fantastic and mostly completely satisfying, it creates this odd pacing to it that doesn't flow as well as the past games do. Like in Kingdom Hearts 2, for example. I'm probably going to be comparing this game to Kingdom Hearts 2 for a very long time. People hate on the opening to Twilight Town, okay? People consider it one of the worst things ever. But I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 does a better job of easing you back into this game than Kingdom Hearts 3 does. Kingdom Hearts 3, it's kind of like, oh, here's the dive to heart, here's Olympus, oh, boom, here you go, there we go, keep going, keep going. And that just, it creates this kind of, it doesn't create this sense of, oh, I'm back. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 2, I feel like the time skip in that game reflects psychologically within the player, because the player's been waiting a long time between Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2. And Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of subverts those expectations with, oh, we're finally going to be back as Sora. No, you gotta spend the first 2 hours as Roxas, and you gotta live his life, and you gotta do the mundane shit for his life, and you gotta see his slowly tragic story start to creep in. And that, for me, that game provides a really great ease back in for this stuff, and it's terrific, honestly. It's immaculate storytelling with that. But whereas in Kingdom Hearts 3, the time skip just isn't there, and the time skip just kind of, it's odd seeing these characters kind of rush into this stuff, and you as a player have been waiting a very long time, like even removed from Point 2, that scene in Point 2 where Sora blasts off to Olympus Coliseum, you still had to wait 2 whole years between that and this. And there's just no real easy way of getting the player back into the swing of things. They kind of just push them out there when they're not really ready. They're not fully up to date with what's going on. And if you've never played Point 2, then you're kind of like, oh, what's going on? Why am I suddenly in Olympus? Why am I suddenly in the Dive to Heart? So there's just this odd disconnect between what's going on the screen and what's going on with the player, at least for me. And I know I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3, it just gets you right into the action, and I love that. For me personally, I'm somebody that likes my games slow. I like my big event games that kind of ease me back into this stuff, because I like to savor it. I like to savor the ooh, I'm back, but I truly have not started the adventure. That scene in Kingdom Hearts 2 when Sora and Donald and Goofy are like dancing because they're so happy to see one another, that's not here. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, you've done all this waiting for 2 years and in 2 hours, and it feels so good to be back in that game. Whereas in this one, there just isn't really a moment like that. It just kind of pushes you out there, and it pushes you into the deep end. It almost expects you to find the paddles so you don't drown. And then it just throws all this content, it throws all this lore mumbo jumbo at you, and if you aren't somebody who doesn't know what the hell is going on, then, I mean, if you aren't somebody who knows what's going on, then you're going to be completely lost, and it's going to be just a pain in the ass trying to wade through all this stuff. And that was just, I just feel like the pacing of it is just so messy, and it was a clear, deliberate design choice from Nomura. I can see that, but it's just odd, like, why he chose to do it like this. It's just strange. Another big issue with this game is the lack of a clear direction and character motivation. I don't mean lack of direction as in creative vision, because I feel like there's a lot of creativity in this game, but as far as the character motivation goes and the plot direction, it's lacking something compared to Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. And again, I'm gonna keep going back to those two, because it's just it just blows me away that those games are 10 years old, like over 10 years old, and they get this right, whereas Kingdom Hearts 3 kind of stumbles upon itself. Kingdom Hearts 1. What is the goal of Kingdom Hearts 1? Oh, I need to find my 2 best friends who are missing, and I need to find a way to restore my home, get back to my home. Okay, clear, concise motivation for Sora. He has goals. He has a reason to be transferring through these Disney worlds. Kingdom Hearts 2. What's the goal? Oh, I need to find Riku, and I need to find out what's going on with these Organization 13 guys, so we can go back home. Right. Clear, concise motivation. A reason to be going to these Disney worlds. I need to find Riku. What is the goal in Kingdom Hearts 3? Oh, I need to find the power of waking. Okay. How do you do that? No idea. Well, if we don't know how we're supposed to achieve our goals, why should I as a player care about what's going on? Dream Drop Distance did this better, where Dream Drop Distance laid it out. They're like, hey, you need to go to these 7 worlds, and you need to complete these 7 worlds to unlock the power of waking. Great. That's how you do it. That's how you get your Mark of Mastery. You complete it. There's a goal. In 3, even the characters forget what the hell they're supposed to be doing. There's a moment in Kingdom Hearts 3. There's actually multiple moments where they just kind of stare at one another and they're like, what are we supposed to do next? Duh, I don't know. And that's cute the first time it happens, or the first 2 times it happens on the gummy ship, where Donald's like, hey, Sora, will you get serious? And Sora's like, give me a break. This shit takes time. Leave me alone. And that's funny. But after like 10, 15 hours of it, of really not having a clear direction, it starts to kind of be really noticeable and almost kind of grate on you, where it's these characters will just start even questioning it themselves multiple times. They don't even know why. Why are these characters at these Disney worlds? There's a scene at the beginning of the Tangled world where Donald even asks, why are we here? And Sora just goes, you got me, Donald. That's actual dialogue from the game where he says that. And it's like, yeah, why are you here then? Why are you wasting your time dicking around in this Tangled world? Why are we wasting our time going to Frozen World and putting Olaf back together? Why are we wasting our time going to Monsters Inc. and running around and with Boo and Sully? I mean, yes, it's fan service. It's nice to see them and all that, but there's just no clear directional through line through all this. It's just go to Disney Worlds, retell the story of the game or the movie, or be a sequel to the movie, rinse and repeat. That's what it is. And it doesn't work this time. It's still fun, but it's missing the skeletal structure of a clear pathway that the last 2 mainline games had. I have to find my friends. I have to find my best friends. I have to solve a mystery. I have to learn more things. And then you go to Kingdom Hearts 3. I have to find the power of waking. How the fuck do I do that? I don't know. Fuck it. Let's just go to Disney Worlds. It doesn't work. And I know that is interesting from an isolated narrative perspective, that the characters have no idea what they're doing. There is no direction for them. That works if there are dire consequences. If they're like, it's like a race against time. But in this game, there is no real race against time. Everything is so relaxed, and the pacing is just so glacier-like. And even the villains are just kind of like, you know, take your time. Yeah, it's fine. We'll clash eventually. So there's no time limit that they're on. It's just, hey, I'll get the power when I get the power. Meanwhile, let's go snowboarding. Let's go fuck around in the fields of Corona. That doesn't provide a satisfying narrative structure for the player, though. As an isolated experience within the game, it can be cute, but it just kind of gets old after a while. When you're going to these Disney Worlds, and you gotta do these obligatory mini games and these obligatory boss battles, and there's no direction whatsoever. Again, how Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 got this right more than 10 years ago, or Kingdom Hearts 3 is just stumbling around like a blindfolded drunk. It just blows my mind. Another huge problem with this game is that it goes way fucking overboard on setting up things for the future. Look, I get that Nomura likes setting up the future. I get it. He's gone on record to say he thinks about the next game while he's writing the current game. I'm sorry, I don't give a shit. He needs to tone that shit way down. And in Kingdom Hearts 3, don't give me this shit about how, oh, well, he needs to set up the future. He needs to have all this stuff happen so we can have things to look forward to in the next games. Okay, that's what an epilogue and the secret movie are there for. He had time to do that for those things, and they do them. But he didn't need to include multiple story threads and scenes that go absolutely fucking nowhere within Kingdom Hearts 3's main campaign. The villains say and do things that have zero payoff. Maleficent and Pete are basically just relegated to like the Jesse and James of the franchise now. Seriously, why are they even here? They do absolutely nothing other than walk around and spout exposition. They royally screw over characters. I'm talking like dirty, royally do characters dirty in this game in order to force narrative events that happen to set up the future without providing proper context. And there's so much more, just so many things that characters say and do that make no sense and provide no payoff within this game. This trilogy ending, this saga ending thing that we've waited years for, they just kind of go, oh, well, here's this shit, but here's this other shit that we've got set for later. I'm sorry, no, that's not how it should work. You can do that in the epilogue. You can do that in the secret movie. Don't do that in the 25, 30 hours I'm spending playing through this campaign that I've waited years to see. Don't do that. And even people I personally know who know the lore better than I do were stunned by what they pull in this. Things that characters do and say that they're just like, what the hell was that for? Why was that even here? Who's this person? I don't know what's going on. And that sucks. That's just bad writing. And I'm not saying Nomura is a bad writer overall. I just think what he did here was just, he just completely stuck his dick in the pudding and fucked it up for everybody when it came to trying to satisfy, like, oh, these hardcore fans that know the lore versus the people who have no fucking idea what's going on. And for all the people that say, oh, there's this great balance, bullshit. Bullshit, there's a balance. The needle tips way too heavily into setting up the future every fucking time, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of these games setting up the future where this is supposed to be the grand finale to the Xehanort saga. And yes, we get a finale to the Xehanort saga, but there are way too many things that are left unresolved. Way too many things, not even including the epilogue or the secret ending. Just too much. That's too much, Nomura. Too much, man. It's also lacking in signature Kingdom Hearts inclusions and suffers from really bad and lackluster endgame content. It's not lacking in content per se, because it does have the side stuff, it does have the additional goals with the Gummy Ship stuff and the Flan Heartless and the Lucky Emblems and the Remy minigame, but it's missing those standard mainline Kingdom Hearts things. And I'm sorry, they don't add anything to fully fill in the gaps. And I don't care about the possibility of a final mix version. Okay? I don't care. I'm going to say the same thing about Kingdom Hearts 3 that I say about every other game that comes out. I care about what's available day one. Okay? I don't care about the patches or the content ads they're going to add later. I care that they had 5.5 years to get this right. And it's lacking so many things that we've come to expect from a mainline Kingdom Hearts game for the next gen systems. It is lacking a critical mode. And Proud mode is still way too easy. Kingdom Hearts Point 2, a prologue to this game, had a critical mode. Why doesn't Kingdom Hearts 3 have a critical mode? Seriously, what is going on, Nomura and team? The endgame content, oh my god, is ass. The lack of Keyblades that you can unlock. There's no Oblivion, there's no Oathkeeper, there's none of like the standard Kingdom Hearts endgame keys that are here. All you get really is Starlight and the Ultima weapon. That's it. And some of the stuff you unlock from like completing Winnie the Pooh and the Remy mini game, but it's just the Keyblades that you've come to know and love are not here. Oh my god, the secret boss battles. There's one secret boss who's relatively not that much of a great challenge. And no, it's not Sephiroth. And I'll get to that in a little bit. There are no absent silhouettes. So for the characters that aren't in this game, that aren't Organization 13 anymore, you can't fight them as bosses. So it's so little endgame content. There's no tournaments of any sort. The Olympus Coliseum, gone. The Underdrome, gone. The struggle competition, gone. Olympus is there. Where is the Coliseum? Where is any form of tournament in this game? The struggle tournament, the struggle arena is not even there in the game. It's like it's been walled off with this sewer in Twilight Town. And that was so disappointing to see that, because back then they're like, oh, come back in 10 years and I'll fuck you up, Sora. That's what Cypher says to Sora. We're back, 13 years later. Where's the struggle stage? Where is it, Nomura? I want my struggle tournament, please. And that was just such a serious bummer. We don't get any rematches against Cypher or Hayner or, God forbid, Setzer. Speaking of Setzer, speaking of Sephiroth, speaking of Cypher, oh my god, the lack of Final Fantasy in this game. Wow. So I said in our predictions video for Kingdom Hearts 3 that Final Fantasy, the lack of Final Fantasy here, I was prepared for it, okay? I was prepared for the lack of Final Fantasy if there was something here to fill in the gap. But there isn't. It just relies so much on the Disney filler stuff that the lack of Final Fantasy in this game is just it's astonishing. It's noticeable. And no, the Moogle shopkeeper, some Dissidia action figures, and a Cactuar they don't count. I'm sorry, that doesn't count. They even play the classic victory music just to rub salt in the wound. There's no Cloud, no Sephiroth, no Leon, no Yuffie, no Aerith, no Cid, no Tifa, no Auron, no Tidus, no Selphie, no Wakka, no Vivi, no Cypher, and others. There's no Lightning. There's not even any, like, World Ends With You stuff in here. Hell, Final Fantasy 15 isn't even here. The crown jewel cockroach of the franchise that refuses to die, that is in literally every single other game ever made that isn't Square Enix, is not in a Square Enix owned game that is literally billed as Disney meets Final Fantasy. How does that happen? How the fuck does that happen, guys? Noctis is in Tekken. We got the car in Forza Horizon 4. He's in Monster Hunter. How does this work? Let this sink in. There is more Final Fantasy 15 on Forza Horizon 4 than there is in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's insane. Why is there no Final Fantasy here? Radiant Garden is here. It's in the game, but we only get to see it in cutscenes. And Sora never visits it. Only Riku and Mickey get to visit it. Oh, sorry, you want to go to Radiant Garden? Oh, sorry, too bad, can't go. You gotta go to Arendelle to snowboard and to fix Olaf, but you can't go to Radiant Garden to visit Leon and Cloud and all the others. Great. Awesome. Thanks. And for those who say, like, oh, well, you know, we got the Flan mini game and the Mickey emblem and the cooking stuff, that makes up for it. No, it doesn't. Those do not make up for the lack of endgame content, the lack of Final Fantasy. I take appearances from Cloud, Leon, and the rest any fucking day over the week over Donald and Goofy squawking about finding fucking ingredients for the 50 billionth time. It's the lack of Final Fantasy does not compute. Does not compute. And it's not like they had to pay another company to get the license for Final Fantasy. Like, the people that made this own Final Fantasy. I don't understand. I don't understand why there's no Final Fantasy in this game. And no, a Cactuar statue doesn't count. A Moogle shopkeeper doesn't count. I want to see Leon. I want to see Cloud. I want to see Aerith. I want to see fucking Vivi. I want to see new characters. I want to see Dagger, or Garnet, or Zidane, or Lightning, or Noctis. Anybody over this shit. Just give me something. Hell, fucking Birth by Sleep had Zack in it. Why isn't Zack here? Fuck. I'm going way off script here right now. I don't understand. I don't get why there isn't any Final Fantasy here, guys. I don't get it. Don't get it one bit. And all this combined just makes me really nervous for the future of the franchise. My big fears going into this game were that A, it was going to rely more and more on the mobile game, or start to rely more and more on the mobile game, and B, that the lore would get even more convoluted than it already is. And my fears are being realized with Kingdom Hearts 3. And I hate to say it, but I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is starting to dip its toes, or the franchise in general is starting to dip into the phase where it's going to be like later seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh, for example. Look, as goofy as they are, and they're fucking really goofy, the first 2 seasons of that anime were really enjoyable, like Kingdom Hearts. It had clearly defined goals and characters, and there was a charm to it, and an emotional connection. But then the later seasons were just these fucking messes of this convoluted bullshit, and bad ideas, and bad execution, and a clear sign that the series was just running on fumes at that point. And I worry that Kingdom Hearts in general is headed in that direction. And to be honest, I'm already seeing signs of it with Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's really worrying for me. And what they set up for the future, just I don't know if this franchise really has anything left to say anymore. And to be perfectly honest, a part of me wishes that this series had ended with Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, I gotta be honest here. Look, as much as I like Kingdom Hearts 3, as much as I like Birth by Sleep, and I like Dream Drop Distance, a big part of me wishes that the series had ended with 2. Where 2 felt like the great ending to a trilogy of games. You had 1, you had Chain of Memories, and you have 2. And 2 ended the series perfectly. Not everybody got a happy ending in that game, but they all got resolutions. For better and for worse. And it ends perfectly. It ends with Sora and Riku united. They come back to Destiny Islands. Donald and Goofy and Mickey and Kairi are waiting for them. And Kairi, Roxas and Naminé look at one another. And Kairi looks at Sora. And Sora just says, we're back. We're back. And Kairi says, you're home. And she outstretches her hand. And Sora takes his hand and like puts the Lucky Charm in her hand, and it just cuts to credits. Perfect. That perfect. Perfect ending. We did not need Birth by Sleep. We did not need Dream Drop Distance. We did not need Kingdom Hearts 3. Perfect. It ended. But they just had to go and keep making it more convoluted and expanding the backstory even more and trying to shove all this other crap in there. And it just, now at this point, it's just this like this tangled web of stuff. And it's now that the series in quotations, the saga has ended for Xehanort thing. It's, I don't know what the future has in store, and I'm like I said, I'm interested in the future, but I fear that it's just gonna start to run on fumes at this point and dip its toe into the really stupid shit that is just going to ruin the series for me. And I hope that doesn't happen, because I love Kingdom Hearts as a series. I have a deep connection with it, but I gotta be honest, like I'm at my patience end with this, and I hate that this game just kind of goes, oh well, you've been waiting a long time for this game. Sorry, fucko, you gotta wait another 5-6 years for the next shit to come around. And God knows when we're gonna get the next game, let alone the next mainline entry, Kingdom Hearts 4 in the series. I don't know if I have the patience to wait 13 years again for this. I don't know if I do. I will. I have no choice. But I just wish it wasn't like this. I wish they just kind of left it back in 2006 and just moved on. Have Nomura do his own thing. Have Nomura do his a new franchise or something. But, and I get that this game is his baby, but it's just, I think they really just need to let this shit go. Because the elements that are in it, they're not working as well as they used to back in the day. And that, it really hurts to say that, but it's true. I feel like the series is just headed towards this downward spiral, and I'm gonna be right there with it when it does, but I'm not gonna enjoy the ride down if that's really how it's gonna go, and that's a shame, because Square Enix is definitely not gonna let this franchise go now, considering it's sold a lot and it was the #1 selling game for January. And I'm happy that it did well, because I think it's a really good game and I am happy for its success, but I don't think that encourages good behavior from Square Enix, and I certainly don't think Nomura and team are going to really take what players say into consideration and write it differently for the next game, because they're set in their ways now with this stuff. So we'll just have to wait and see. In conclusion, so the big question that's been marinating in my head is this: am I giving this game a free pass because I desperately want to like Kingdom Hearts 3? I've made a whole video now about my criticisms of the game, and they're big criticism. They're not even all of them, because if I were to go into some of my another layer of my huge problems that are related to the spoiler stuff, I could probably talk myself into thinking that I don't like this game as much as I do, but I genuinely believe that I do. And after a month of thinking about it, my answer to this is no, I'm not giving this game a free pass. I've gone through this game twice now, and I'd like to go through it again multiple times in the future, because I genuinely enjoy it very much, even with its problems. And any game that has that effect on me is not something I'm giving a free pass to. Look, I was desperate to love games like the original Watch Dogs, or the original Destiny, or Arkham Knight, or Firewatch, or Final Fantasy 15, or Yooka-Laylee, or Spider-Man, or plenty of other games I've covered on this channel before. And I have no problem saying that those games were massive disappointments for me. But I can confidently say that Kingdom Hearts 3 does not deserve to be among that pack. I think it is very good, but I think going forward, they really need to be careful with how they treat the franchise, because I see the signs of it going down, and that worries me. So hopefully, I don't know, somebody, I doubt it, somebody from the Nomura team or the Osaka team or somebody at Square Enix sees the fan reaction to the stuff and really reads what people are saying on Reddit and whatever, and really takes it into consideration, because it's got problems. Like, it needs a fresh slate. It needs a clean slate. And I don't think this new saga is going to be the clean slate that everybody is looking for, because so much of it is going to be tied to the understanding, you know, the lore from Key, and you know what happened in 3, and you know what happened in 2 and 1, and so on and so forth. So we'll see. But for now, my final thoughts on the game are that I really like it, but it's got big problems. And that's that. Alrighty, thank you guys for watching. If you like to see, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah. Have a good one, guys. Take care.